In this lesson, from Ad-Da' wad-Dawa, Shaykh Abdul Razzaq al-Badr Hafidhahullah continues explaining the chapter where Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah refutes those who claim that homosexuality, the act of the people of Lut, is lighter than adultery and that it has no fixed legal punishment. These people argue that the punishment should be limited to discretionary measures and that there is no prescribed hadd for this sin. Ibn al-Qayyim systematically responds to their arguments, relying on authentic texts, the consensus of the companions, and sound legal reasoning. Their first argument is that Allah did not mention a specific legal punishment for homosexuality in the Qur'an, unlike adultery, and therefore, according to them, there is no fixed hadd for it. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah replies that the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, clearly established the punishment in the Sunnah. He cites the hadith, "Whoever you find doing the act of the people of Lut, kill the active and the passive partner." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not legislate from himself. What he establishes as a legal punishment comes from Allah. The absence of detailed mention in the Quranic text does not mean the absence of a ruling, as long as it is firmly established by authentic Sunnah. Ibn al-Qayyim also shows that this argument contradicts other matters that these same people accept. For example, the stoning of the married adulterer is not found in the Quranic verses we recite today, yet the scholars agree that it is a valid hadd based on the Sunnah and the practice of the companions. Some companions even reported that there had been a verse about stoning whose recitation was abrogated while the ruling remained. In the same way, the punishment for homosexuality is established by hadith and by the unanimous practice of the companions, who applied execution in such cases without distinguishing between married and unmarried offenders. Their second argument is that this act is supposedly intercourse in a place that natural instincts do not desire, and that people's temperaments are created with a repulsion toward it, just as they are repulsed by intercourse with an animal or a dead body. From this, they conclude that homosexuality does not deserve a fixed hadd, only a discretionary punishment. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah answers that this is a corrupt analogy because it contradicts explicit texts and the consensus of the companions. An analogy has no weight when there is a clear text. Once an authentic hadith and the companions' agreement establish a ruling, individual reasoning cannot override it. He further explains that this analogy is weak even from a logical point of view. The temptation related to a handsome youth, the strength of desire, and the way such relationships can capture hearts and imaginations are in no way comparable to a man's relation with an animal or a corpse. Homosexual acts directly engage human passions, spread through looks and fantasies, and can become a widespread moral disease in the community. This is why the Sharia dealt with this sin with an extremely severe punishment, to close this door and protect society as a whole. Ibn al-Qayyim then points out that this claim about natural repulsion is contradicted by other cases. For instance, incest with one's mother, daughter, or sister is something that a sound nature finds extremely repulsive. Yet in one of the well-known opinions among the scholars, the punishment is also execution, whether the person is married or not. This shows that the mere presence of natural repulsion does not cancel the hadd when texts have established a severe legal penalty. The gravity of the sin and the type of punishment are decided by revelation, not by personal feelings about what is disgusting or not. Shaykh Abdul Razzaq al-Badr Hafidhahullah also relays Ibn al-Qayyim's discussion of intercourse with animals. Scholars differed on the ruling for this case. Some said it requires only discretionary punishment. Others likened its ruling to adultery, and others to homosexuality. They debated the hadith, "Whoever has intercourse with an animal, kill him and kill the animal." Some scholars declared it authentic and used it as proof. Others considered it weak due to its chain of narration. This entire debate shows that the legal status of intercourse with animals is itself subject to disagreement. While in the case of homosexuality, the evidence and the companions' consensus are much clearer. It is therefore invalid to use this disputed issue to weaken the established ruling on the act of the people of Lut. In the end, Ibn al-Qayyim warns against an even more dangerous deviation. When someone not only commits or trivializes this sin, but also twists the text to justify it. He mentions the example of a person who tries to include male slaves under the phrase, "what their right hands possess," in order to permit homosexual acts with them. Ibn al-Qayyim considers such misuse of the Qur'an a form of playing with the Book of Allah, and says that someone who insists on this kind of interpretation to make homosexuality lawful can reach the level of apostasy. Shaykh Abdul Razzaq al-Badr, Hafidahullah, concludes by reminding us that a sincere Muslim must respect the seriousness of this sin, keep far away from all its causes, and submit humbly to the rulings of the Qur'an and Sunnah, asking Allah to protect his faith and his natural disposition.